Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
And my name is Adam Jones. Today we are doing This is Marketing by Seth Godin. You can't be seen until you learn to see.
Seth Godin has done a whole bunch of books, Permission Marketing, The Dip, Tribes, Linchpin. This is his 19th book, and I guess a culmination of a whole career's worth of marketing lessons.
He's steered away from the way his usual style where it is packs one concept into 80, 90 pages. This way he's veered into the area of most other authors, I guess. He's done 250 pages and covers marketing a lot more generally, but not in the way that you usually think of marketing. It's a lot more on the level of empathy and emotional and deep thinking.
Yeah, and it's very much a there's no sort of how-to, as in go and craft this specific Facebook ad with these specific words. It's very much a high-level how to approach and how to think about marketing. So he starts off by saying it's not about mass, it's not about spam, it's not about shameless self-promotion. This book and his idea of marketing is all about how to spread your ideas, how to make an impact on the world, and how to improve the culture, which is a pretty lofty goal to begin with.
He says marketing is actually a really generous act of helping someone solve their problem. Real marketing involves very little in the way of shouting and hustling and coercion.
I love how you say hustling.
Hustling. It's like it's a real chance to go out there and serve. So, you know, a lot of people see marketers as like a real annoying and selfish people trying to just sell shit on everybody, but it's actually, they're some of the people who are changing the world in good ways.
Yeah, no, exactly. And he says, he used the word generous in that marketing is a generous act of helping others become who they seek to become. It involves crafting stories and helping other people change the stories that they tell themselves. And marketing offers solutions or opportunities for humans to solve their problems and take a big step forward.
So in the long run, those people who are all about the hype, the scams and the pressure they're putting on everybody, they thrive on this selfishness. And in the long run, that is actually not going to work. It's those who are out there who are selfless in the long run, they're going to be much better off.
He bangs off the end of the first chapter with, it's time. It's time to get off the social media merry-go-round that goes faster and faster but never gets anywhere. Time to stop hustling and interrupting. Time to stop spamming. Time to stop pretending that you're allowed to just talk to people. Time to stop making average stuff for average people and try to charge slightly more than commodity price. And he says time to stop looking for shortcuts and time to start insisting on a long, viable path instead.
It's time. It's like a big motivational speech by the big Seth. He doesn't
going.
Yeah, I'm very fired up. So, yeah, he really describes marketing in 5 different steps, which is really valuable with someone's brain like Seth Godin to break it down like this. The first step, you need to invest into a thing that's worth making with a story worth telling and a contribution worth talking about.
The second step is to design and build it in a way that a few people will particularly benefit and care about. Not everybody, just a few people.
And the third step, you need to tell a story that matches the built-in narrative and drams of that tiny group of people, the smallest viable market.
The fourth step, which is, I guess, the one that we get excited about, is spreading the word.
And the fifth step, and probably the most overlooked and perhaps the most important, is just to show up regularly, consistently, and generously for years and years. And you need to organize and lead and build confidence in the change that you're seeking to make.
Yeah, rather than just being a once-off transaction, it's far more effective to have the longer-term interactions over time of truly engaging with somebody and building that connection as you go.
Yeah, that's why a big Seth, he's big on his big permission assets like email marketing, those things that take a long time to build but actually are really selfless and aren't really bugging and spamming people. So this is the big Seth style.
He calls this the riff about the quarter-inch drill bit, in that Harvard marketing professor Theodore Levitt famously said, people don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill bit, they want a quarter-inch hole. So obviously, the drill bit, is just a feature itself, a means to an end, but people truly want the benefit of having the hole. But Seth said that this does not go anywhere near far enough because nobody wants a hole. He says you want the shelf that goes on that hole. But really, you want the shelf so you can put stuff on it so your house isn't cluttered. Or you want the shelf so you can put books on it, so when people come over, they see that you're a smart person. Or perhaps you want the shelf so that your spouse can pat you on the back and admire your handiwork, or the feeling of just doing it yourself. So there are all these benefits that we get that have nothing to do with that first 1/4-inch drill bit that we bought in the first place.
And really not even much to do with that hole either. So yeah, it does go much deeper. And if you look at, big ads like the Toyota Land Cruiser, like, you can go, and they're just like going off track, just fucking just off rocks and off jumps and all this kind of stuff. Like the people who actually go out and buy that $90,000 car, they're never going to do that action adventure that the people in the ads are doing. But what they are buying is that feeling that they're going to be safe and respected. So they're selling a feeling in that ad. They're not, there's never that practical value of that wild shit they get up to.
Yeah, exactly. They might look and think, I'm going to do some sick off-road 4-wheel driving, and they probably like to pull it into their driveway, and their neighbours look over and think, this guy gets up to some wild shit on the weekends. But really, they're just it's just a car. They're just driving from home to work and back home again.
So people don't want what you make. They actually want what it's going to do for them, and they want how it will make them feel. And there actually aren't many feelings to choose from. So most marketers deliver the same feelings. We just do it in different ways with different services, products, stories, and we do it for different people in different moments.
So it really is, I guess, almost a callback to this sort of thinking a lot deeper. So it's not just what's the product that you're making, and it's not even just what is the benefit they get out of it. The level far deeper than that is what's the feeling that you're trying to get someone when they use your product or service.
So what feeling are we trying to invoke with what you'll learn?
I think it's a feeling of being smart, learning a whole bunch of new different things.
I feel like that's the whole, mate. I think it's the deep level. It's the maybe the feeling that people get when they tell someone, what the black swan is or something, and they get that feeling like they're smarter than someone. I think that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people read, and maybe me a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, definitely me.
Yeah. Or the feeling that after you read this book about something that doesn't offer necessarily practical value, you can actually just tell someone and you look good, and that's the whole value and the whole point of the book.
There's a lot of status that comes with that. I like it.
Yeah.
2 big questions that he asks here, and I guess 2 big questions that should really guide anything that you try to do, whether it's building a product or creating a service. They're the first 2 questions you should ask. Firstly, what change are you trying to make? And secondly, who are you seeking to change? So in terms of the what, so what change are you trying to make? It's a simple question, but a loaded one, because it implies that you're completely responsible and you're not just trying to sell products. You're trying to make a change. He says there's 2 stumbling blocks. One is sort of aiming too high, like trying to revolutionize the fossil fuel industry or something. That's way too big a change. And it's, nice to dream high, but it's easy to, when it fails, say, it was never going to happen anyway. Or the second one is to, ask this question and just defend what you're already doing. So if you're already selling a product, you make up some weak change that this product's going to make. And do it the wrong way around. You need to start with the what is the change that you're seeking to make.
The second question is, who are you seeking to change? And it's quite clear that you can't go out there and change everyone. You don't have enough resources to go out there and change everyone, but you actually need to change someone. So focusing your whole marketing to one single person can make sure that you're making really effective change on a real person.
Yeah, you want to be choosing a specific type of person, and probably not based on demographics like where they live or how old they are or how much money they make. Instead, this psychographic, so the way they think, the way they feel, the types of stories they tell themselves. Like, one psychographic could be the guy who wants to go off-roading adventure on the weekend because he's a wild dude. That's like one psychographic that we could talk about.
Or if you think about Apple at the very start, they were really going hardcore on the rebels and the misfits and that psychographic. And although it really appealed to a real niche kind of person, and paradoxically, it kind of went up the whole adoption curve and then everybody ended up having it. But at the very start, they're really focusing on the one type of person to change.
Yeah, and it is important to, what Seth says, force a focus, in that it's impossible to change everyone and it's ridiculous to even try to. So instead, focus on being specific. So not just generalizing, but being specific and what he calls the smallest viable market. So the smallest possible amount of people that all share the same sort of ideas and stories that you can group together, but not trying to change everybody at once.
It's actually being really brave when you be specific. It means being accountable, and because when you're being specific, you'll know if it did work or if it didn't. It's not this kind of abstract people you're marketing to. You'll get actually understand your results straight away, and you could probably pivot to something else pretty quickly.
Another brave and really scary thing to do is, especially if you're at the start, is to say it's not for you. Is to, once you've become so specific about who your group is, anybody who's outside that group, say it's not for you. It's tough, but it's important not only for you because you don't want to compromise, but also for them because you don't want to waste their time picking something that's not right for them. And he says, every best-selling book on Amazon has got more than a few one-star reviews as well. So it's impossible to both create work that matters and please everybody.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go out there and please everyone. Have we got any 1 stars?
Nah, I'd had a look. I was hoping we did, but nah.
Yeah, we were both looking at earlier. I don't think we've got any 1-star written reviews. We've got a few 1-star reviews without written things, so I think we're doing it right.
The lowest was a 3.
Yeah, maybe
a 3 with the written review.
I'm hoping not tempting people to.
Yeah, no, don't ask for 1.
Just please keep giving us 5 stars. We've been loving them. So once you're thinking of a specific person, you need to go down hardcore in empathy to really understand the other person. So the people who don't buy from you, who happily buy from a competitor, even though they know you exist, why are they right in not going with you?
Yeah, it's another tough question to ask yourself, in that you need to go a little introspective and realize that there are people who know about you but chose not to buy from you. And they're probably right for a whole bunch of reasons. So you can't just think, oh, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Or, oh, that girl, if only she knew better, she'd be buying from me. You need to just really admit that, okay, some people aren't going to be right. Some people aren't going to buy from you. And try to understand why, which is important to know.
So, yeah, when you get to that point, you can actually say, hey, I'm sorry for you. This isn't for you. Here's the phone number of my competitor. And then you can have the freedom to actually just serve the specific group that you're going to in the first place. And I think, and I think it's a bit paradoxical as well. I think when you tell someone, this isn't for you, they'll be like, fuck, why isn't it for me? And then it will be for them if they really want it. I remember telling someone, I actually said that about the podcast to someone once. They asked me about it, and I said, it's probably not for you. And they ended up listening to their episode.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
He caps off this section here and moves into a section on empathy, because he says empathy is at the heart of marketing.
So when understanding empathy, one way is to really look at the opposite, which is narcissism. It's the thinking in the way that everything is revolving around you, your worldview is spot on. Empathy is the ability to actually step into someone else's shoes and see things from their perspective. Because people don't believe exactly what you believe. They don't know the things that you know. They don't have the same experiences. Everyone has a different kind of noise inside their heads, and everyone thinks that their worldview is right, and they've got an impulse to make things better in the way that they think things will be better.
Yeah, exactly. And we really need to truly understand other people. And in this, the subtitle of the book, you can't be seen until you learn to see. I guess he's saying that you need to truly see other people and understand other people before you could ever market yourself effectively.
It's like the old seek first to understand, then be understood. It's exactly that.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is. And so you definitely need to understand your potential smallest viable market in a deep way. You need to understand their thoughts and feelings and really be empathic about how they're going about their lives. We all want to make our products or our services, our offerings better. But better is such a nebulous, abstract, loose term that doesn't mean a whole lot by itself, because better means different things to different people. So you need to truly understand your smallest viable market, the people you're trying to change, and what does better mean to them?
That's it. So there's hundreds of models of pretty much everything out there in the world, hundreds of models of computer, table, motorcycles, beers, bars, burgers. And the way that you're going to remember something in every category, you can actually remember the thing that's best for you. And that's what it's going to be like for everybody else. And everyone's so different. They're going to remember what's actually just best for them. So if you're someone who cares about sustainability and price, then your brain has a slot for your favorite brand based on that. And say if it's for cars or something, you might like really expensive sustainable cars, and so all of a sudden your favorite brand is Tesla in that thing. But for someone else, they might really value group and status in the group and luxury. So their favorite brand of car is all of a sudden the Rolls Royce or like a Porsche or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. The best is there's not one subjective best, because it's all best based on a whole range of different things. And some of the lists here could be, speed, price, performance, health, purity, safety, being different, sustainability. There's all these different variables that go into making your product or service. And one exercise he suggests is pick two of those things and make an XY axis, so a vertical and a horizontal, and plot your competitors on those two axes and work out, are they all congregating in one section, or is there somewhere that there's maybe missing an option? Or, it's just good to understand both your competitors and the market.
If you're looking at hamburgers, for example, you might want to be plotting speed and quality. And, you might have Andrew's Hamburgers, which on the category of pretty much everything is just the very high end. But that's not the way to market according to Big Seth.
It's fast, but low quality.
It's very high quality, fast and everything. Anyway, but they're the two categories. So that fills that category. You might have the really fast, low price as well.
Like your Maccas.
And then you might have the really slow, high price, which is the big sit down. You might invite 6 execs over to just sit down and just watch people.
That's like a
start
Maha.
From a lamb scratch.
Yeah. Like a Maha in the city.
Yeah.
$25 burgers, a bit fancier.
Yep.
Good for, the people, wankers who work in a bank who think that's a classy establishment to go to.
Yeah.
Not speaking personal experience, of course. But yeah, there's all those different things that you can pick, and you can plot all the different competitors based on those two axes. And the important thing to do then is to then find another set of axes, and perhaps maybe for burgers, maybe healthiness comes into play, and that then you can have healthy burgers and you can have unhealthy burgers. And where do all the competitors fit on that spectrum and on those axes then?
Yep. So if you're bringing in a new product, it's really important to actually find that category where you're the first in that category, and you can actually serve that viable audience who are in that category, who value those two kind of things, and then you can open up a whole brand new market, and straight away you've got some customers.
Very nice, very nice. The next important thing he talks about is not being a commodity. So he says if you're making something that can be easily found or replicated on Amazon or Alibaba, or if you're doing a service that you could find on Upwork or Fiverr, you're in for a lot of pain, because people are just going to go purely based on price. They're just going to find the cheapest thing. If a cheaper price is just a click away, people are going to click. So instead, you really need to focus on not being a commodity. Creating something that is a bit more truly unique, and that's again setting up with making a change and marketing based on the feeling, not just a simple commodity product or service.
So you got to really think, what do people actually want? And the thing is, if you ask them, you're probably not going to get the right answer.
Yeah.
Or you certainly won't find anything really groundbreaking.
Yeah, there's a few issues with that. Firstly, we confuse our wants and our needs. Like our needs, bit of food, bit of water, bit of air, a bit of health. That's pretty much all our needs. The rest is just wants.
I'll tell you who understands this, man. I've been watching Tony Robbins' I'm Not Your Guru again. This popped up just in my head then. But there's some 19-year-old chick. She's saying, oh yeah, I don't like what I'm eating. And the big Tony, he goes, oh, that's what she thinks she wants. And then Tony turns it into, she craves the need of her father. And I don't know how the two linked, but it made a lot of sense in the documentary. And then her life was changed, and she's probably just killing it right now.
Yep. I love it, man. I don't remember the specifics of that one, but I'll take your word for it. Another thing is, whilst people are intimately aware of their wants, we know what we want, we're actually really bad at picking things that will satisfy our wants. we might know that we want that love and connection, but instead of going to a family member for it, we're going to food. So there we go, mate. I shoehorned that analogy in for you. And the other third thing is like we also mistakenly believe that everybody wants the same thing, which, as we talked about, based on different worldviews, that is not true whatsoever.
Yeah, that's it. Some people want things that are brand new. Some people want things that never change. Some want chocolate, some want vanilla, some want buttered pecan.
Oh yeah, bit of a throwback to the dip for any long-time listeners.
What happened in that episode?
Well, anyone who's listened since day one would know, but it was in the dip saying that the most popular flavors were vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, and then butter pecan. It was number 4, which I've never heard of.
I totally forgot about butter pecan until then. So yeah.
Yes, the dip.
Ooh,
Seth Godin.
You're gonna rub that butter pecan all over my body.
Some people want it though, apparently, and not everybody wants the same thing.
So this is some really deep shit here. You don't begin with your machines, your inventory, your factory, and all these little tactics. You don't begin with what you know or how to do some sort of distraction about your mission. You need to begin with the dreams and fears and the emotional states and with the change your customers seek to make in themselves and in their world. It's really putting themselves as the hero on their journey, understanding what they're looking to, what kind of pot of gold that they're after specifically.
Yeah, it is deep shit, man. And Seth says, well, what do you want? You as in the reader of the book or the listener to this episode. And he says, let me guess. You want to be respected, successful, independent, appropriately busy, maybe a little bit famous. You want to do work you're proud of for people you care about. I reckon you pretty much nailed that. I reckon that's exactly what everyone wants. And so that's what he's saying, that everybody really wants a lot of the same things deep down. They just go about achieving those in a different way. So you should be boiling down your offering based on some of those core human desires.
Yeah, like straight away, like freedom or something. Like someone might be pursuing a high risk entrepreneurial kind of vision to get that freedom. Someone else out there might have that really stable job so they can actually invest in an index fund to be very free when they're 65. So they're completely two different ways of living and seemingly two different paths, but they're both after the same thing.
Exactly. The next section he talks about is reaching the right people, and specifically one big takeaway for me from this book was the clear distinction between brand marketing and direct marketing. So first of all, online advertising, it's so easy. You can reach people, precise people almost on an individual level, not just the demographics, but the psychographics. You can reach them instantly. You can put up an ad and 2 minutes later, people are seeing it. You can measure everything, but also it's the most ignored advertising ever created. It's very easy to not look at those online ads. So you've got to be very conscious and very calculated with how you're spending your online marketing budget.
So you can easily get your audience's attention with these new tools that are available, but there's a huge difference between the actual quality of attention that you're getting from them. There's some that's just spammy, bullshitty, unearned attention, which, like if I think about some of those YouTube ads that are so bloody annoying when you're watching something, I've never ever clicked on anything that comes from that. I just get pissed off at that brand. And then you got some earned attention, which is a whole different type, right? So if you're subscribed to someone's blog and you're looking forward to it every month, both attention, it might be a 10-second hit, but one of them has a completely different amount of value to the other.
100%. And so with our marketing, both earned and unearned, is we've got 2 different types of marketing. The first is brand marketing, and the second is direct marketing. So he says direct marketing makes the phone ring. It's the action-oriented stuff, and it is easily measured. And the brand marketing, he says, makes magic. It's culturally oriented, and it can't possibly be measured. And so the big key of the book is firstly to know which of these 2 you should be doing, and secondly, do it the right way. So if you're buying direct marketing ads, measure everything, compute how much it costs you to earn attention, to get a click, to turn that attention into a sale. And direct marketing is action marketing. So if you're not able to measure it, it doesn't count. And if you're buying brand advertising, be patient and refuse to measure it. Engage with the culture, focus on being consistent and being patient. And if you can't afford to be consistent and patient, then don't buy brand marketing ads.
So direct marketing ads are going to be those things where you click now, you make the purchase straight away, you can measure it, you got your big funnel there, it kind of filters through and everything's very measurable. And the only thing you want to get is the sale. You don't care about anything else. Brand marketing is something else where you might be advertising on television to where no one can click right now. You're just like trying to sell what your brand is on everyone. Obviously, the brand one, it's going to take a lot longer to actually get your ROI really realized. So that's why you need to be so much more patient compared to the direct marketing style. And know when you're doing one and know when you're doing the other.
Yeah, exactly. And don't trick yourself into thinking that you're doing one when you're truly doing the other. So he gives us here a simple guide to online direct marketing. So he says you need to make an ad. The ad gets a click, and that click either leads to sale or permission. So the sale exists to then create either another sale or word of mouth. Or permission allows a marketer to then interact further. Whether it's subscribe to an email list or subscribe to a podcast, that permission to then later down the track get the sale. So he says that's all there is to direct marketing: the ad, the click, either sale or permission.
That's it. Yes, seemingly pretty simple stuff. On the other hand, the brand marketing guide to this. He says everything you do, from the way you answer the phone to the design of your packaging, from the hold music to the behavior of your executives, even the type of packaging you use, all of this is a form of marketing what your brand is.
Yeah, so you need to be consistent with that brand. And there's probably a lot of things that you don't even notice are giving people an indication or an insight into how your brand operates. You can't measure any of this, but it is still vitally important. And they are still things that are well and truly worth considering.
So that's a big takeaway from the book, is understanding it's a real strategic thing, the difference between brand and direct marketing. Seth rarely goes into like the strategy level, so I think it's really great when he does. Another strategy he talks about is using price as a vital marketing decision, and price being a real story that you're telling people.
Yeah, price is a massive signal. We assume a lot of things based on the price. You might think that cheap is good. People just want cheap, but that's not true at all. There are some people who like expensive. They like to pay more. They like to be seen to pay more. And so if you're just trying to be cheap or just trying to be cheaper, Seth says it's actually just you being scared.
Absolutely. If you think about the company Porsche, right, the actual utility and value they're offering people, it really isn't a big difference between the $20,000 or $30,000 cars, right? But they're selling the idea that the person who just rocks up in their driveway with a Porsche, that the status that they're getting from it. So by having the cost of it so much, they're allowing the people who tell the story of status to actually buy that thing, and then and it really fits their worldview in a really direct kind of way.
Yeah, on the opposite end of the spectrum is being the cheapest. It's pretty easy to sell things if you're the cheapest, because there are a lot of people that like the cheapest. But firstly, you're not creating any meaningful change, which is what we set up at the start. And secondly, it's a race to the bottom. Just because you're cheapest now doesn't mean you're going to be cheapest forever. And if you're selling to people who only buy the cheapest, it means as soon as somebody else comes that's 1 cent cheaper, you've lost them.
When you're the cheapest, you're not really promising change. You're promising the same kind of thing, but cheaper. And lowering your price doesn't make you more trusted. It actually does the opposite.
It's a big punch there as well.
Having said that, I think it would be nice if Seth sold all his shit for a bit cheaper.
Yeah, mate, I think that's a story in that. There's a story in that for sure.
There is.
And another thing that's nothing to do with cheap, but free. It's a completely different category. So obviously, $10 is $1 less than $11. It's a $1 difference. But the difference between $1 and free is massive, in that free is a completely different category all to its own. And free is an important thing to do. You can't make everything free, obviously, because you need to somehow make money. But he says that if Facebook charged $3 a month, there's no way they would have got to 1 billion users. Or if you had to pay to listen to the radio, there's going to be no top 40 songs that everybody's heard. Free is like a great way to spread those ideas, because it's such an easy barrier to entry. But, as you're saying with, Seth maybe making his courses cheaper, by paying a lot more, you have the tension of that transaction And by, if someone gives you something for free, act very differently than if you had to pay a lot of money for it.
So the road out of this paradox between cheap and high value and expensive and free is, one, free are the ideas that spread. If you want something to really spread really fast and wide, then give it out for free. And two, expensive expressions of those ideas that are actually worth paying for.
Yeah, so I think it is that's the right mix. Is you got to have a whole bunch of things that are free, which makes it able to spread. But then, of course, you need to have things that are not cheap, that are worth paying for.
He closes the book with some really explicit words to his marketing message to the reader or the person listening right now. So we bring value to the world when we market. And if you're someone offering more value than you're charging, if you don't market the change you'd like to contribute, then you're actually stealing. If you hesitate to market your offering properly, it's not that you're being shy, it's actual theft, because there's someone out there who needs to learn from you, engage with you, or actually buy from you.